So I thought I'd make a bit of a video about what happens when you go racing in FSR. We had Suzuka on Sunday in Pro Division. I joined in, and I just thought it might be interesting for people to get an idea of what you can expect in terms of performance level, what the standard's like, what you need to do preparation wise, all the things that can happen in a race, all the trials and tribulations and things you might want to prepare for and watch out for. So I thought I'd do that story around Suzuka. This was my third FSR event of the season. I only joined the grid in Singapore, joined quite late, so that was around about round 6. This is now round 9, so I've done, actually must have been round 7. Singapore was round 7, Circuit of the Americas was round 8. Pretty poor performances from me in both, but I'm kind of coming to grips with the car a little bit now, and who doesn't like Suzuka? So I felt I had a setup that was okay. I felt I was driving okay, able to push quite hard. What you're seeing here is my first quali lap from Suzuka last Sunday. We run private qualifying in Formula SimRacing, so there's no other cars visible on track, but everybody's qualifying at exactly the same time. We get 10 minutes, which is usually enough for 3 attempts at a quali lap. And unlike Singapore and Circuit of the Americas, where I really didn't think my qualifying performance was worth even having a go, and I would just start from pit lane and see what happened. Here at Suzuka, I was feeling a little bit more competitive, so I had a go at qualifying. I ended up qualifying 14th out of 17 competitors, and with a qualifying lap that was around about 2.5 seconds off pole. You can have a bit of a look at an onboard lap here and look at the telemetry inputs and see that I'm not drastically doing anything badly wrong and not making any major errors, but the pole sitter found 2.5 seconds that I didn't find. We'll get into that a bit later with a bit of a chat about Replay Office and what you can do to further your performance and address any shortcomings both in terms of performance and setup. So this is my second quali lap, which was a better lap. It was 28.334. I actually was looking pretty strong on my third lap as well, but made a big mistake, which I'll include exiting the Casio triangle. I think I was up about 0.175 or 0.2 at that stage, but you'll see that in a moment. We're on soft tyres. We have a quali mode, which is the same as our push to pass mode, but we can use that the whole time through the quali lap. And so with the result of 14th out of 17th, I had a bit of a look at the lap times and thought I was weighed up risk and return and decided that I'd just rather start from pit lane and know that I was going to survive sector 1, because to do all the prep that's involved in entering a Formula SimRacing event and then get taken out or badly damaged in turn 1 is just so demoralising. And I love Suzuka so much that I definitely did want to do the whole race, and that's my big spin coming out, just over pushing at the end of my final lap. So now we're moving to the start of the race. This is me exiting the garage and just forming up down at the red light and waiting for the signal to go. So the two biggest things on my mind at the moment are is there going to be a bit of carnage, and am I going to be picking my way a bit through a bit of wreckage? And the second thing is, am I going to have the pace to hang on to the pack here? We always hope for the best, and also we're carrying about 105 litres of fuel now versus qualifying. It's a bit of a different game. Some people are better at qualifying than racing, and other people are a little bit more competitive when it comes to the race. And of course I entered the track with stone cold brakes and tyres that haven't been warmed up very much either, so it's a little bit of caution as we enter the S-curves for the first time. But I'm seeing cars getting closer to me, and at this stage of the game feeling fairly good. And I know that certainly in qualifying I had better pace than the 3 cars immediately in front of me, so I'm thinking maybe I'm going to get a chance to overtake these guys. And as we enter the hairpin for the first time, it's one of the biggest compression zones, if you like. The concertina effector field closes up on itself very closely, and we have the first little episode there where somebody gets entangled and gets thrown off track, and I'm now up into 16th place as we approach Spoon Curve for the first time. And here I allow myself to think that actually these guys aren't driving away from me, and I may well have the opportunity today to compete quite well with them. The thing of course is that by virtue of starting in pit lane, I've put a couple of people in front of me that I could have been in front of, and the guys that I probably wanted to hang on to their gearbox and run with them will inch away from me while they're on a big warp there from the guy in front of me. That caused me to lift a bit and touch the brake. But then we have a bit of an on-throttle spin there from one of our competitors, and I have to take to the grass to avoid him. We'll just give you another little look at that to see exactly what happened. It was a very close shave, and I did get a little bit of damage. My engineer reported, one more view of that, my engineer reported that I had a little bit of slight aero damage there. Now we're ending lap 4, and I'm pretty close to the guy in front. I'm in 14th place at this stage, and not really asking myself why I'm not in 15th, but this is Nandor Master. He was a top 10 running driver, had a bit of an incident on the opening lap, and he is recovering, and I'm afraid I just about got frightened off the track there and ended up, no harm done though, ended up on the dirt, but recovered fairly well, and I'm now off in pursuit again, and we've had now another incident. Somebody else has fallen off the track, so I now actually am in a genuine position, 14th. It's lap 5. Now as we look at the end of lap 8, I can see there's 3 or 4 people not so far ahead of me as we look down the straight there, and I'm starting to think maybe I can do a cheeky undercut soon. Lap 13, and I'm running in 9th because a few people from the top group have pitted, and I'm afraid I just got frightened off the track again by that guy approaching at a great rate, and lost my concentration and slightly mistimed the entry into Degner 1. So it's the end of lap 14. I've decided to bolt on some soft tyres, ignore the red stripe there. I'm actually on mediums at this point, and wanting to catch this bloke, but actually caught him a bit too much because I caught him in his pit stall. Now, had I thought it through, I could have probably waited 1 or 2 seconds because the tyre change is normally only 3 seconds here. But I suffered a tiny bit of damage in that instance, and also somehow double tapped the pit request button and had a 6-second tyre stop. So that was a pretty awful pit lane sequence for me. So the 13 lap stint on softs didn't really achieve anything. I caught the guy in front for a few laps, gained about 3 seconds on him, and then he started to pull the gap out. But I had to hang out till lap 27. I've done the same thing again. I hit the pit request button twice, so it was a 6-second pit stop, and I stopped short and then had to move forward. So I put the stopwatch on that. That was a 9-second stationary pit stop. A good pit stop here is 22 seconds, including pit lane transit time. So I think that was about a 28-second pit stop. Not really helping the cause. And of course I start to get caught by the leaders. That's second and third place there, and I'm pretty careful about being lapped, so I pulled under the bridge to let them through. And next thing you know, guy behind me, we're now fighting for position 13. He's had a nightmare. I think he's been through pit lane 3 or 4 times for damage, for drive-throughs, etc. So he's in recovery mode, and this gentleman is actually competing for the championship in Pro. But here we're fighting for position, so I'm not going to make it easy. I would rather come 13th and 14th, and he's going to have to earn the pass. So I do my best, and I'm sort of not too disappointed that I'm holding up this bloke properly, who is a competitor for the championship. But I think he's got DRS and push to pass and absolutely monsters me into 130R, and I hang my head in shame and say for the 3rd time in this event I've been frightened off the track. Lap 41 of 45, and the same bloke is coming up on behind me again, and I've just slightly run wide on Spoon Curve. But I've got to say I've been pretty lucky with all these offs to have not suffered any damage. And there's Mr. Canzonieri, and probably thinking to himself, oh no, not you again. So he must have had to go through pit lane again for some reason. and I'm now in 13th again. We're also lapping a chap who's actually in 15th. And George Canzoneri's attacking me again, same spot into Spoon. I have a pretty decent exit from Spoon. Maybe he's run out of push to pass, or perhaps not quite within the 0.7 of a second required to have DRS on me. So this time I'm able to get through 130R without having to leap off the track to preserve the car's safety, and decide to fight him all the way through the Casio Triangle. But I'm afraid I overdo it slightly on the outside curb and spin and end up there in the kitty litter once again, and recovering to the back to the track. If you think it looks like it's taking a long time on video, imagine how it feels from the cockpit. There's the result sheet from the race. If you want to get involved with what you do to analyse that, to find improvement back at headquarters if you like, that's what part 2 of this video is all about.